Hiya! Okay, so this is my second video. This is going to be the advantages and the disadvantages of the golden rule, narrow and wider use. Okay, so first advantage, we could say it avoids absurdity and prevents injustice. So obviously we've seen in the literal rule a lot of occasions where judges apply this, it results in absurdity. For example, in Fisher versus Bell, obviously the intention was not for people to get away with displaying knives on a technicality of language. Whereas using the golden rule, we can see a lot of absurd situations avoided. For example, in R.V. Allen, a simple alteration of the word marriage, they changed that to mean going through the marriage ceremony. And this avoided an absurd result completely and managed to get this person guilty of bigamy. As he previously said, it was impossible to commit this offence because to marry someone is not possible when you're already married. So the golden rule, in this sense, avoid absurdity, and this was the narrow use. And we also saw an example of that in Sigsworth, where there was a woman who had no will, so her son killed her. And basically, in the Act, for those that don't leave wills, it said that everything would be given to the next of kin, and the defendant was the only next of kin, so he was bound to inherit. And basically the legal system, the courts, completely changed the meaning of the words in order to avoid a repugnant situation, and it meant that he did not benefit from his crime. Another advantage, I suppose, of the golden rule would be that it's more likely to produce the result that Parliament intended. So obviously, when Parliament is making a rule, they're making it with a purpose in mind, hoping to avoid unjust outcomes that we see in, for example, Fisher versus Bell and Berriman. Another advantage would be that it allows judges to use common sense. Obviously, the literal rule, it basically expects judges to literally read the rule and apply law entirely on that, applying none of their own common sense judgment. Whereas the golden rule, it stops public feeling that the law isn't working properly, because if the judge feels that a situation may be absurd or repugnant, if they apply the exact meanings of the statute passed by the legal system, then they can change it or amend it minorly in order to avoid these absurd results. And we see in Allen and Sigsworth, for example, the golden rule allowed judges to overcome the technical difficulties of language. Okay, so some disadvantages. What's an absurdity? That's one of the biggest questions. There is no clear definition of what an absurdity is and what amounts to an absurd result, so it makes it difficult for judges to know when exactly the rule should be used. So the Law Commission argued the rule was of limited value because there was no clear means to test when an absurdity may or may not occur. Another disadvantage is that the use is very unpredictable. There is no guaranteeing when a court is going to use it, when they won't, and it makes the outcome of cases very difficult to predict. And it means lawyers, obviously, have a difficult time advising their client on what route to take and probably what situation they'll end up in. Michael Zander once described it as an unpredictable safety valve due to the lack of guidelines as to when it should be used. And we can see in Berriman, for example, a different court may have applied the golden rule and the outcome would have been completely different and there would not have been such an absurd result. And finally, it's, as most of the other rules that aren't the literal rule, it's considered to be undemocratic, as it gives too much power to the judges to decide. As, obviously, as we said before, the people, the public, elect the lawmakers, but we do not elect the law enforcers, aka the judges. So if judges are making decisions, this isn't strictly following democracy, in that we did not vote for that decision, so it's not fair for us to be expected to follow it. So that was just a very brief overview of the disadvantages and advantages of the golden rule. Hope it was helpful.